Okay, this video is a extra credit video. It's a continuation from lesson 16. In lesson 16, we had a quote from our Mishnah. It was a Toshma, hameiniach hakad b'shus harabim. And in that quote, we were saying that we see that a person cannot take the law into his own hands, because we said the only reason why a person would be putter if he broke the kad was if he tripped on it, which the Gemara called niskal, or the Mishnah called it niskal. However, if he broke it on purpose, it seemed that he would be chayiv, or else the Mishnah never would have said niskal. If the Mishnah wanted to say that he's putter even if he broke it on purpose, then it could have just said shavra. It could have left out the entire phrase of niskal, of stumbling. So I mentioned that there was a machlekes between Rashi and Tosefos concerning who the Gemara was trying to ask a question on. And just to put it simply, to get a general understanding of this, the question is the case a case where there is a loss? Because we know if there's ikapseda, then both Rabbi Yehuda and Rav Nachman agree that you're allowed to take the law into your own hands. So if this is a case of a loss, then it's a question not only on Rav Yehuda, who holds that you're not allowed to take the law into your own hands, or I'm sorry, it's not a question not only on Rav Nachman, who holds that you are allowed to take the law into your own hands, and over here from our Mishnah you see that you're not, but it would also be a question on Rav Yehuda, who would agree that you're allowed to take the law in your own hands if there is a loss. Okay. So we said there's a machlekes Rashi and Tosefos. Tosefos is going to learn that it's only on Rav Nachman, and then we'll see how Rashi learns, which we saw Rashi in the Shir in lesson 16. We'll do this here. So we're going to do Tosefos Taima. Okay, Taima. The reason why he's putter, I'll add in a word, Taima de putter. The reason why he's putter, the niskal, that's because he stumbled. There's a quote from the Gemara, of course. Hashavar, but if he broke it, right? If he broke it on purpose, then he would be chayiv. And this is a question on somebody, either Rav Nachman or Rav Yehuda. I'm sorry, either Rav Nachman or both Rav Nachman and Rav Yehuda. Now, Tosefos just explains, Aliba de Rav Parach. The question is according to Rav. Now, why is it only according to Rav? Because Rav earlier gave his opinion on what the Mishnah was talking about, the muki that he established. Right? Established. The mukila, he established it. Bimimale. Male means it was filled. And it means bimimale Rishus Harabim Kulachavis. It was talking about that the entire Rishus Harabim was filled with barrels. And therefore, the person couldn't get through. And because he couldn't get through, he was allowed to take the law into his own hands and break it. That's what Rav said. Now, it seems from our Gemara that he's not allowed to. He would only be putter if he stumbled. Okay. Now, so again, the Gemara's question is, according the Mishnah, according to Rav, would be a question on at least Rav Nachman. The Belay Mamale, if it wasn't filled, if it was just one barrel in the middle of the street and anyone can walk around it. So the Belay Mamale, if not filled, the Belay means if not. If not filled, Maida Rav Nachman, that's supposed to be Rav Nachman. The Ein Loy L'Shaber, that he's not allowed to break it. Rav Nachman, even though Rav Nachman holds you're allowed to take the law into your own hands, he would admit, right? Maida means admit, right? Admit. The Ein Loy L'Shaber, that he can't break it. Why? The Iboile, he needs to. Liskuye means to walk or walk around. Liskuye be idach gisa, to go from the other. Idach is other, and gisa is side. Idach gisa means to go from the other side. So, if there was go from the other side would just mean to walk around the barrel. If there's a barrel blocking you in one lane, so go to the next lane. So obviously Rav Nachman, who holds that you're allowed to take the law into your own hands, would not say that you're allowed to break barrels just because it's blocking one lane. There's another lane and go over there. Delay poliga kulamaroi delay Delay polig, he does not argue. Right? Polig is argue, and delay means not, that you know. Akulu, on all. The aleph means on, right? Akulu, on all. Amiroi, all the Amiroim, which is referring to, let's put it over here, Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan which both Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan said that the only way that a person would be pater if he broke something was when he wasn't able to look where he was going, either it was dark or for some other reason it was around the corner, as Rabbi Yochanan said, or Rav gave his explanation that it's talking about where it was entirely filled up and he had no other way of getting by. But we see from those other Amirayim that if he would have any way of getting by and it wasn't dark, then he would be chayiv. He has no excuse for breaking it. Dila'el means above or earlier, right? So Rav would not argue on them, and Rav would hold that then you would be chayiv. So obviously we're talking about a case of memali. So far, all Tosefos said is that when the Gemara quotes our Mishnah, and it asks a question on, he's going to say it's on Rav Nachman, and it asks a question on Avid Inish Dinol Nafshe, that a person is allowed to take the law into his own hands. We see from our Mishnah that he's not. That question is only when the entire Rishus Harabim is filled up, because if not, then everyone would say chayiv, and that's not that wouldn't be a case of our Mishnah. Okay, now Tosefos says this is from here. Let's make a different color. This is actually where he argues on Rashi. He says, "Well, tarvayu loy parach." Tarvayu means on both. Sorry about that H. On both of them. On both of them, loy parach, he is not asking. Parach means to ask. Loy parach, he is not asking. The afal gav, that's an abbreviation. You know that abbreviation, right? The afal gav, because even though the ire b'memale that we're dealing with, ire means dealing with or speaking about. I'll put in dealing with. We're dealing with b'memale, where it's filled up. Lekup seida, there is no loss. There is no loss, and the reason why there's no loss is because Tosefos is going to explain. Let's just skip this right here for one moment. We'll get back to that in a moment. She'adam yachal lahakif b'Rishus Harabim, because a person can go around. Hakif means around. A person can go around Rishus Harabim in a Rishus Harabim v'leilach b'chol makom sheyotze, and go b'chol makom any place that he wants. Yotze comes from the word ratzain. B'chol makom is any place, right? That goes together. B'chol makom, any place. So what Tosefos is saying is that if you want to get to, you want to get, let's say, from here and you want to go there, well, you may, and there's something blocking you. So you may have to go down that street and go down that street and go over there, and to go in that direct path. That would have been nice, but okay, it's going to take you a little longer. But you can still go around, and that's not considered a loss. It's a little bother. You got to go out of your way. But that's not considered a loss. And since that's not a loss, so therefore our question is going to be only on Rav Nachman, who holds that you're allowed to take the law into your own hands, even when there's no loss. So we see from our Mishnah that you're not allowed to take the law into your own hands, because we said you're only pater if it was an accident. But if you would be allowed to take the law in your own hands, you should be pater, even if you did it deliberately on purpose. So the question is only on Rav Nachman, not on Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda, again, admits that you would be allowed to take the law into your own hands if there was a loss. But this is a case where there's no loss. So according to Rav Yehuda, it fits perfectly that you're not allowed to take the law into your own hands. The only question is Rav Nachman, who holds that you are allowed. So why in our Mishnah does it not seem that you're allowed? And you know the end of the Gemara, that was lesson 16. The Gemara has an answer that really you're allowed to take the law into your own hands as well. It's just for the seifa. Okay, I just want to add in the loy dami l'chatzar chaverei. Tosefos says that walking in Rishus Harabim is different than chatzar chaverei, than your friend's courtyard. Now Tosefos is referring to a Gemara that we learned. Let's bring that Gemara in. The Gemara said, let's see if I can adjust our screen over here so we can get it. Okay. The Gemara said, Tashma. This is the Gemara. The Gemara says, Hamemali chatzar chaveri kadiyam kadishemen. If someone filled up his friend's courtyard with barrels of wine and pitchers of wine, pitchers of oil, He's allowed to go, the owner of the courtyard is allowed to break his way out and break his way in. And this was a question on Rav Yehuda, who holds that you're not allowed to take the law into your own hands. Why was he allowed to break it? In Amar of Nachman bar Yitzchak, Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak answered, Mishaber v'yoyte lebezdin, Mishaber v'nichnas l'havi l'zuchayosav. He's breaking his way out to court, to Bezdin, and he's breaking way back in to get his proofs, to get his deed, the document that says that he owns that courtyard, and the person should remove his pictures from there. When we're answering this, that Mishaber v'yoyte lebezdin, Mishaber v'nichnas l'havi l'zuchayosav, we're basically saying that this is a case of a loss. Because you can't get out, it's a case of a loss. Now, this is a case of memale, where something is filled up and you can't move. If that's the case, so let's go back to Tosefos. Tosefos just tells us that when the Rishus Harabim is entirely filled up, it's a case of memale. He tells us that there's no loss. We just learned that by a chotzer, by a courtyard, there is a loss. So he says there's a big difference. That's what Tosefos is saying. By a chotzer, you can't get out. So that's a loss. You got to get out. The front yard is entirely blocked. However, in Rishus Harabim, if one road is blocked, you can go around. So Rishus Harabim is not a loss, but a Chatzer Chaveri is a loss. Okay, I think Tosefos now is very clear. Let's just take one peek at Rashi, and we'll see how Rashi learned this. Rashi in Hashavra Chayev. We're going to do this Rashi. He said, "V'ukma Rav la'el b'memali Rishus Harabim kulei chavis." Rav established. Ukma is established, right? La'el is above. B'memali Rishus Harabim kulei chavis, that we did. Alma, we see. Lo yavid inish dino l'nafshei afilu, and this is the key. Let's make a different color so we can stress this. Make it. And a person is not allowed to take the law into his own hands. Afilu b'makim, say that even if there is a loss. So Tosefos considers that. Rashi considers this a case of a loss. So therefore, the question would be on both Rav Yehuda and Rav Nachman, because both of them would allow you to break it if it's a case of a loss. And our Mishnah seems that you're going to be chayiv if you break it. However, Tosefos learned that it was a case, not of a case of a loss, and that's this Tosefos over here. Again, that was Dibra Maschel Taima. Remember Dibra Maschel? Dibra Maschel. Remember that Hamaschel, and it was abbreviated Daled Hey, which is Dibra Maschel Taima. Okay.